dark Midwestern car park on a cold and windy night. In the distance I saw a dim bar door light. I could hear the music drifting through the door. "Welcome to Murph's Bar. Plenty of tables here," said the server. "How about an even-off and a menu?" "Are you with the undressed?" she asked. "Then you go through that door." A shiver ran down my spine. I don't think I want to, but I couldn't help myself as I drifted towards the door. "It's Wednesday night," I think I heard her say, "and everyone, young and old, are undressed. Once you're in here, you can never leave, at least not until it's all finished." So here we are, Murph's Bar, for another Wednesday night undressed. Name that song.
Hotel California.
You agreed with him. You said totally.
Was it Hotel California?
Yeah, it was Hotel California. We don't claim to look at things scientifically, but we definitely have all the answers to your mysteries, vegetable, animal, and mineral, and we even know the kings and queens of England, and some princes too, and questions most political. We can explain matters mathematical, physical, and medical. We're really the only naked podcast you can undress to on a Wednesday night whilst wallowing in your bath. Let me introduce the team for tonight. Kathleen, Fernando, Lewis, Jeremy, Andrei's here, Evo's here, Jane is here, and Greg is here. Have I missed anybody? He's going to complain. The engineer has come back. Neil Rasmussen is twiddling his knobs, having gone off and spent our money on a cruise, which is... She did. Yeah. And I want to point out that Susan, before we get into them, we ought to have a vote. Should she have a pay rise up to $10 an hour? Because she's on 7 at the minute, isn't she? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We better not encourage her.
Yeah, well, probably.
She might get more involved with the podcast. It's going to be a disaster.
So we have some interesting questions this week. What job could you not imagine yourself doing? And these are only jobs that will not get you arrested.
So I'm going to let you know that I sent the questions over to my buddy Bobby, who's been on the podcast a few times, and he said the same thing that I would say. Like, I don't think I could be like a herpetologist or an entomologist. Entomologist. No snakes, no bugs. Because fuck those guys.
Yeah. Entomologists. Yeah. Uh-huh. You don't like bugs, huh?
I do not like bugs. I got attacked. By attacked, keep in mind I was like 4 or 5 years old at the time. Attacked by a praying mantis. Like, I couldn't get the praying mantis to get off my side. It like landed there and it was like I could hit it and it just ignored me. And so ever since then, like, bugs and I have been mortal.
And wasps. You hate wasps. Both the bugs and the white Saxon Protestants. Yeah.
One a whole lot more than the other, and I don't mind bugs that much. No. So yeah, bugs and like, okay, we've got this bearded dragon that I've grown fond of, Beanie, in my house. But
who?
My bearded dragon.
Beanie. You're feeding him bugs.
Beanie,
yes.
Yeah.
I've met him.
And I have to feed him bugs. Yeah. Well, actually, there's this particular roach called a dubia roach that, like, I have to go to. Pet World here in town is like the one spot within like 100 square miles that always has them. So every time I'm here,
do they have to be alive?
They have to be alive. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you, the person that hates bugs,
I hate bugs.
To go and
not
get a bunch of
partial to lizards,
quivering, moving, living, disgusting roaches,
and carry them in my car, like, because they can't get too cold, because then the bugs are all upset. So
yeah, you got to keep them warm. You got to play them good music.
They have not escaped, fortunately.
You ever worried about what happens if you have a car accident? I'm sorry.
You mean like more so than myself and my car worried about the bugs? No.
Yes,
no.
And the police who are there to do something, and the EMTs are going, "Oh God, he's got roaches in here."
No, that's really kind of not on the top of my list. I'm more worried that, there might be a scar to this beautiful face here, and that's something we absolutely cannot have. So, the bugs are way down low on my priority list, and yes, but it is my duty to go pick up the bugs for the lizard that I'm not. Well, I'm more fond of now that she's been there for a while.
Who owns the
We should
lizard?
get together and watch the movie The Fly. It's gonna be so much fun with you.
The Fly, or what's another one?
Well,
Slither.
Slither.
Arachnophobia.
Like, I was actually a fan of spiders because they killed bugs until I watched
Or
fucking
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Those spiders were too goddamn
Fucking
smart.
arachnophobia.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a whole porn industry. You don't want to really know. Yeah, exactly.
So in the Jurassic period, when there was much higher oxygen content in the air, the bugs were enormous. I mean, there were roaches the size of a VW
Yep.
bug. No, seriously,
Yep.
can you imagine living back then? And everything was just
Actually, those
Yeah.
giant centipedes that they have in
Oh.
like Central and South America today freak me the fuck out.
oh yeah, they
Like-
It's that
yeah.
sci-fi movie, Space Force or something, where they get attacked by bugs. And
Oh yeah,
Oh, you're thinking of
the troopers, the
Space troopers.
troopers.
Yeah.
Oh, those was disgusting.
Starship.
yeah.
Yeah, that was disturbing.
right towards the end,
Oh yeah, and you
one of
would
them gets
hate Florida. Do not go and move to Florida,
no,
man.
no. The palmettos.
I already do hate Florida.
Oh, I was in Orlando once for 2 weeks for some business.
He's not
and
talking about me, just
I-
so that you guys.
I was
yeah.
playing tennis with somebody,
Uh-huh.
and there were bugs flying that I would confuse for the tennis ball.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Santis show up?
Yeah,
What-
The Santis?
breaking. Swag.
Yeah, and then there's roaches that can tackle you.
Mm-hmm.
They have they have hissing cockroaches.
Yes.
Oh goodness gracious! And then they have the love bugs, Louis. Do you know what the love
I'm not
bugs
familiar
are?
with the love bug.
Oh my God, they're genetically engineered in University of Florida. They genetically engineered bugs that were supposed to eat mosquitoes, to kill mosquitoes.
Right.
Instead, they did not touch the mosquitoes. They don't do anything but fly around and fuck. And so, but they have to constantly copulate. So what you see,
Kind of like Neil.
yeah, is this kind of like Neil? Is this bug? So there's bugs everywhere that look like they have two heads because they're always flying together. They're having sex at all times, and so the bugs, the love bugs, it look like one bug with two heads, and it's really disturbing. They don't bite, but they swarm. And there's like 2 weeks, I think, in April when it's their active period.
Right.
And then what happens is they stick to the windshield of the car. You smash them, and then you can't take them off of the hood of the car. It's very hard to clean them off your car, so it's a nightmare. There's completely failure.
Just ask a
complete
question. Are you trying to make it so that I don't come back to the show?
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. Do not go to Florida under no circumstances.
Yeah, because this is.
it's very difficult being a Brit here in the pool, right? If we're in our pool,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
and something comes in from the west, and I think it's a fucking Messerschmitt. It's coming in low, you know.
And it's a mosquito.
And you think, yeah. And I'm thinking, we haven't got any anti-aircraft weapons here. You know, it's like Donbass.
It's a Messerschmitt.
You know, and
I say I don't like bugs, and we spend the whole fucking podcast talking.
Andrei, do you know what a Messerschmitt is? Messerschmitt is an airplane attacking military airplane for the German army in the World War II. That's a Messerschmitt. So Jeremy says that the mosquitoes in Kansas look like Messerschmitts.
yeah, well, they do.
Well, so we know what your hate profession is that you hate. What about Andrei?
Anything that makes me move to the UK, or any job that requires drinking tea.
You mean brown water, right? That's what tea is.
Okay, now you guys are just getting, uncultured. Tea is good stuff. I love tea.
I love tea.
I love spilling it in the toilet. It's brown water, like the great Ted Lasso says. It's just brown.
Explain
water.
yourself.
Yeah, just like
What do you mean?
getting rid of the tea.
Why?
I don't know. I don't like tea.
I'm more on the UK thing.
Oh, that was a joke to make
Oh.
Jeremy mad. I probably wouldn't want to be like a plumber. I don't know. I don't want to work with poop.
Yeah,
Don't have kids.
I feel like
Pooping.
just like I don't know that many jobs, so I wouldn't really know. But plumber would suck. I would not want to work with poop all day.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Or like a school janitor. Yeah,
That would suck because kids are not neat
yeah.
and they make lots of messes, and the school janitor is always considered a creep.
And they think everybody should clean up after them too. So
What job would you not like to do, Greg?
No, politician. That or accountant. Both of those sound awful.
And you are, in fact, a lawyer, right?
Mhm.
And you don't want to be a politician or an accountant?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Some would say that there is a trifecta? You know, that's one of the things.
They fall under the penumbra. Of,
Yes.
Sorry.
Good word.
The penumbra of office professionals, maybe?
Well, is a lawyer not a politician?
Not an
I don't think. I think that there's a pretty, I think that there is some overlap in that you definitely have some politicians that are lawyers and some lawyers that are political animals, but I don't think they're...
No, they're certainly not necessarily intertwined.
Yeah.
I mean, are you defending people in court, in which case you're a politician? Are you one of the chicken lawyers who doesn't go to court because you lose?
So I used to go to court pretty frequently. The new job that I have, I don't get to go to court as much, which I kind of miss, actually, which I did not expect.
I don't know that I would agree with the assertion that if you defend folks, you're a politician.
Oh, no, I completely disagree with that as well, but I was just answering the question.
You're just answering his weird Brit question. I follow you.
Yeah.
I follow you. Yeah. No.
Jane, before you put something in your mouth.
anything that would have to do with mathematics or cubicles and cubicles. I do not like
definitely against mathematical
cube
cubicles.
absolute. If it is geometrically shaped, especially. No, I don't. I just don't math. I hate math. I can understand it after a spell, but I really have to work hard at it, and honestly, it just irritates me and pisses me off. So
Okay.
that's it.
So curious, like when you say math, do you mean all maths? Do you mean like
No.
computational math?
I really thought that I would like geometry because I I like to draw, I like angles and things like this. So that was a right brain person's thought towards geometry.
Right.
I hated it. I didn't understand it. I can algebra, but just basic stuff. If it gets anywhere close to labs in physical science, or I'm just like, I have to have a brilliant lab partner because I just can't get through it.
I understand.
Doesn't make sense.
That's fair. Surprising, but fair.
Fernando.
Let's say from times like imagine like what it, to be an executioner or like mortician or work in a theme park like Disney or Worlds of Fun, like to be dealing with the crowd. I mean, it's probably there is so many. Did I talk about like a move and remove portable bodies too? Can you imagine like?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How about somebody has to go down in the sewers?
Yeah, that's.
A porta potty wrangler.
And there is a lot of insects there too, just in case Lou.
It's so indicative that he talked about mortician and executioner, immediately mentioned a theme park attendant, working at Disney World.
That's there's something
It's
about that
so
life.
good.
Uh-huh.
Or work nowadays on fast food and a drive-through. That might be as.
Let's talk
Rough.
about yeah.
Kath, what about you?
I can't see myself doing even vaguely anything whatsoever to do with religion. I just, no, no way.
Come on.
Nah. I don't like fooling people for money.
Suppose
That's
you
a good
could
point.
write like religious texts at like $100 a page.
Nah.
Still no?
No,
Wow.
no. And on the other hand, I like math.
Write some religious text.
I've,
I will pay you that rate.
Dude, I didn't tell you about the Church of Lou. Talk to me after the podcast.
but other than that, there's also the hard, nasty physical jobs like coal miner
Uh-huh.
or high-rise construction worker. Can you imagine being up there,
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
20
I could,
floors
yeah.
in the air, and
I like
trying to work your way along a beam to get to another? Ugh.
I like that.
So that sounds fun, but the coal miner thing, like I remember when I watched with Evo, we used to sit around and watch Justified, a TV show. But the coal mining thing, like it was a television representation of like what coal miners are, and I'm looking at it like, fuck, I could never do that.
Every time I think of coal mining, I think of Zoolander. I think I've got the black lung, Pop. Damn it, Derek, you've only been down there one day.
John White was his dad? Or
Yeah, John Voight.
Yeah. Lord Taylor.
Well, if I'm giving an honest answer,
Now, hold on. It's got to be a job that you wouldn't do, not like you wouldn't have your butlers do.
well, actually, you said, what job could you not imagine yourself doing?
Yeah.
That's the actual. So my answer to that was being a talk show host in a foreign country. That I would ever be a talk show host in a foreign country,
And yet you were.
and yet I was
Yeah.
with another foreigner.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah,
It was surprisingly successful.
yeah. I mean, we weren't having sex or anything like that, but you know,
Well, not on the show. Yeah.
not that Evo will admit to, and I hate him for it. But you know, there's going down a mine. I've often thought when I've been talking about the war and things like that, some people were drafted to go in the army or wherever, and there were you could, if you were unlucky, get drafted, and then you had to go down a mine. Army, Navy, Air Force, mine. You know,
You forgot Space Force.
Well, come to think of it, though, that's one of those other things that, like, when I watch movies where they're like engaged in trench warfare, that freaks me the hell out too. Like, I don't know that I could have, like, that I would have had the cojones, just to like deal with that.
Wait a minute, that's
Like-
crazy. You're telling me you wouldn't want to get blown to bits?
Well, I mean, there is that.
I think I don't think we have any idea what it would have been like to be in the trenches. But jobs to do, I don't think I'd want to be a police officer. I don't think I'd want to be in the TSA or something like that.
I'm in the T motherfucking S.A.
But it's sort of like I can't think of jobs I wouldn't want to do because I wouldn't want to do. There aren't any job. You know, I hated being a real estate agent. I hated it. I was just quite.
You were good at it.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know what I would have loved to have done, but that isn't the question.
You were too early for OnlyFans, so that was not going to work. Yeah.
Speaking of TSA, did you guys see today that it's United Airlines and Alaskan Airlines are rethinking the people that were banned for not wearing masks? They're going to go, case by case and decide whether or not to let them back on. I'm like, screw that.
No.
Screw these people.
I wonder if they're doing that for legal reasons.
I don't know.
Because of it, I mean, you'd think it would kind of invalidate the policy retroactively if it was unconstitutional to begin with, according to that federal judge.
That's I
There's a
didn't
thought
think about
here.
it that way.
If you go and buy a packet of cigarettes, on it says the Surgeon General, yada yada yada. So when the government says you can't do something, it means you can't do something. And as far as I'm concerned, this isn't the question, but as far as I'm concerned, when the government, legitimate government, says thou shalt not, then I'm afraid you're not going to. And when the government then changes its mind for some reason, then you're allowed to.
Well, sure, but here you have the weird situation of one part of the government telling you can, and then the other one invalidating the order to begin with. So it's basically saying that government
citizen.
Can I just ask, before anybody starts, please don't go sovereign citizen on Kathleen today. She has had an experience. I don't think you should share. But next question.
So, Fernando, I wanted to mention that officially Jeremy has shifted from you to me. This is second week in a row that he's skipping me when there's a question. So this is a huge relief. I want to say that, but that's not the first time. It's second time in a row. So this is. I just wanted to I wanted to say it quickly before he moves on. Yeah.
He knows perfectly well what the problem is, and he's using his Bulgarianism
Jeremy's blind on the left side of his face.
I can't see anything on the left, on my left. Evo sits here. It doesn't matter whether we're doing a radio broadcast.
Jeremy, you're pointed, and we are being recorded, okay?
That's not Evo.
This is
I
Andrei.
wasn't saying anything. And I must admit, you're looking much fitter.
Much younger.
So, what job could you not imagine yourself doing?
There are a few jobs that I've done,
Evo.
so I don't want to. I know that I wouldn't want to do them ever again. One of them is working in a slaughterhouse, which I've done for a couple of weeks, and that was 36 years ago.
It's hard to get that smell out of it.
So for 36 years, I haven't eaten meat. Another job that I would hate doing is working in the army, which I was in for a couple of years. I hate not having a mind of my own, and in the army you're not supposed to, have your own, make your own decisions. And another job that I've done that I wouldn't want to do and hate is a fundraiser. I hate begging people for money. I hate it.
Can I have $1?
And well, no, I don't mind people asking me for money. I hate myself begging people to give money for something.
Well, stop calling me up on the phone then.
And then,
Sorry, someone had to know it.
and then anything that involves repetitive patterns, like an assembly line job, which I've done as well, putting together freaking boxes on an assembly line, where every 10 seconds you have a deadline. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. There's boxes coming at you, and you have to put them together real fast, and then the next box is coming, and slowly your brain just turns to mush, and you go insane. You can't do this job for more than a few months, without losing it. Or the Charlie Chaplin Modern Times, if you've seen it, he completely lost his mind working on an assembly line. So, and like you mentioned, politician. I hate lobbyists, politicians. I haven't done those things, but I can't imagine being able to work in this profession. So yeah, that was my answer.
Okay.
I proactively feel left out for the next question.
Okay.
So the next question is one left over from last week, which we decided we would add in. Are you ever worried about terrorism and active shooters and the like when using public transportation? Jane?
Not really. I just don't really try to think about it much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every time the news bulletins pop up and something new has happened, like every other day, just becoming so desensitized to it, it's a norm. And I'm like, well, hope it doesn't happen to me, but oh well. But no, I definitely don't dwell on it.
You spend a certain amount of time teaching.
Yeah. Well, that's different. That's different to me, but only because I'm not going to leave kids behind. I mean, you're in charge of these people who haven't even lived yet, and that's different. When it's just me, though, no, I don't fester and worry about stuff like that. But I'm absolutely not going to, run and leave young people behind.
I have actually been present.
Would you say no child left behind?
Thanks, Noel.
Thanks, Bush.
I've been present in one of her classrooms when the bell goes, and her students were still, doing what they were doing. And one student who was in the next class made the mistake, almost fatal mistake, of coming through the door early. Now that student didn't matter. It was just a fairly ordinary looking student, probably about 7 foot tall, played football. She eviscerated that student.
Can you not see we're still sitting here?
No, she didn't say that.
Do that.
No. She didn't use the F word. She said out, but in such a way that even if he'd had a machine gun, he would have left. It's true. ladies and gentlemen. It is true. Ivo, you've travelled a lot in Europe. What do you think?
I'm constantly actually worried about soft targets and transportation, public transportation, because like buses, other forms of public transportation have been a favorite target for domestic terrorism and international terrorism all over the world, except for here for some reason. But we even had in Bulgaria, of all places where we are not used to terrorism, a few years back we had an attack on a bus where a bunch of Israeli tourists were killed on the Black Sea by a terrorist with a bomb. And many times that the target is a bus, because of the lack of security, because there's a lot of people in one place and it's an easy target. And also subways are, as we know, in Japan we had a famous subway terrorist attack there. It's hard to escape a subway. A subway train is a very easy target. When I go inside a public transportation, I have an intuitive reaction. I create a plan. I look for the exits. I try to figure out, it could be paranoia, but it's kind of paranoia, somebody said, is just knowing all the facts. And there's a lot of, and not just transportation, but malls, concerts, things like that. I now always look for plan B, plan C, plan D for escape. If something happens, what am I going to do? Yeah, Louis, you were about to talk.
I think that absolutely makes sense. And I think that growing up here means that I look at it completely the opposite. I think that for me, everything that you just named, with the exception of malls and concerts, is a lower value target, because all of those things are typically thought of as poor people places.
How about cruises?
So cruises would probably be, to my way of thinking, probably the most feature-rich target.
We've not had a cruise attack, have we?
No, and which is surprising to me, to tell you the truth.
So, and I wonder if that's maybe because
Achille Laura was the person.
I don't know that by name.
Yeah.
But yeah. But to my way of thinking, the soft targets they're much more susceptible not to terrorism, like some political or religious zealotry. They are much more like crazy guy with a gun is going to start shooting or harming people.
We do not have a deficit of those.
Exactly.
In the United States of America.
So it's a different, I think it might be the same worry, just kind of for with a different rationale.
Yeah, that's what sprang to my mind when I read this question, that I don't use public transport that much, but I'm on the road every day, and I do worry about idiots with guns who imagine some sort of slight and open up on the road. They're just crazy.
Yeah, is that different? And I don't know, I'm asking this question legitimately. Is that different than somebody getting pissed off and opening fire on K7? Is that different than a terrorist attack?
Well, ultimately the point of point of a terrorist
thing is relevant, though. It changes the motive, and it changes kind of the, I guess the understanding of why it's happening, right?
Yeah.
I feel like with the stuff that's happening in the U.S. a lot of the time, it's just kind of like, what? Why? Whereas it seems like there's no real motivation for it other than, somebody just gets really frustrated with something and decides, I'm out.
Yeah, and public transportation, the problem, it's much safer to fly than to board a bus, to tell you the truth.
Right.
There's so many levels of security when you board an airplane. They even check your shoes and you go through hoops to get on an airplane. But you get on a Greyhound bus or a train, and there's barely any. There's no security. There's no security. You can board with a machine gun and nobody will know, and you can shoot. And ultimately, the point of a terrorist attack is terror. It's not necessarily targeting specific people always. It's terror. Do you remember Anders Breivik? I mean, it is one of the friendliest, the nicest countries that I've ever been in, with the kindest people, Norway. And this guy, who is a radicalized right winger, killed 86 people. 86 people, and they weren't rich people. First, he killed 8 people with a bomb in a neighborhood in Oslo, and then he went to this island and killed these young people who were children, teenagers who were there on a kind of a camp, business camp, whatever. He just wanted to wreak havoc. The point was to draw attention to himself and his cause, and often the status, the social status, and how rich you are doesn't have anything to do with it. People just want to kill people, make a statement, make a point, attract people eyeballs to their stupid whatever manifesto they've written. You know, so yeah, I am a little worried. The concert in Vegas, my goodness. You know, more attacks and think soft targets.
As Greg pointed out, there's a difference between people being terrified equals a terrorist attack, and a terrorist attack and terrorists. We worked in Northern Ireland for a long time, many times, and there you have to have real actual security. And then coming to America not long after that, after 9/11, the first time when we came, they were dealing with foot and mouth, or hoof and mouth. Is that what you call it? Hoof and mouth.
And foot and mouth.
When we call it foot and mouth, you know,
Constantly dealing with that one.
and they got kids, not much older than Andrei, wandering around with M16s in the airport, as if that's going to stop some Arab terrorist, or whatever. It's just not. It's not real. They don't really understand.
Yeah.
What, and I think until when you saw the school shootings, America's never going to do anything about guns and the like until someone decides, I'm going to lose my job, that I'm going to show some photographs of what those kids look like after a machine gun has dealt with them, what the bodies actually look like, and gets it onto national TV so people actually understand what it looks like. Then, they may do something about it. Andrei, at school, do you ever think about what happens if some nutter gets hold of his dad's gun?
If we have a drill, but I don't worry about it. I usually don't worry about anything that I can't really do anything about. So if I can't do anything about it, it would suck, but I can't do anything about it. So why worry about it? I'll try to escape or something. But
you have to live your life.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about it. I wouldn't, I would be terrified, but not if it doesn't happen.
Fernando, you come from a part of the world where there are bad guys.
Yeah, they're the main concern, at least at my times there, and weirdly, there was once a mass shooting there in São Paulo, I think it was 96, 97.
Yeah.
Some just guy that was high and probably planned, he went to a movie theater that was playing the Fight Club. And he hit that he was but guns are not easy access, so you're gonna find a black market. They don't sell in Walmart like here. We have Walmart there, but for you really have a legit gun, you gotta go through a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But I'm as paranoid as evil. I always look what will be the escapes. I don't know if the situation where you're here. I felt very upset first time here. See that, Andrei, when was first time that you learned in school to have a drill in case there was a shooter or a crime going on? Elementary school?
Kindergarten? Daycare?
Elementary.
Yeah.
So that was I remember I got my first reactions to be upset of the school to bring fear to the kids on that age.
Yeah.
But then, you gotta be ready.
It's brilliant for that guy to go to that movie theater to shoot people because he went to Fight Club and he knew that he can't be prosecuted because you can't talk about Fight Club.
Sure.
Okay, let's
No,
move.
and that was his point.
Let's move.
Exactly.
Let's move on. Wyandotte County, where Lewis lives, he says was hit by a cyber attack this past weekend. Have cyber attacks become a legitimate worry? And I have to say that the BBC cannot be held responsible for this. I grew up with Doctor Who and the Cybermen, and
That's
I know Cybermen
cybersecurity,
are not
cybermen.
real, Lewis. They're not real.
I know. Let me
And
help you
so
out.
If you think of
There's a
them
difference
walking
between
down the street,
cybersecurity
No.
and cybermen.
not real.
Jeremy,
Yes, Evo?
I
I'm recognizing you to my left.
I wouldn't mind working as a proctologist.
Really?
Yes. Because
Fantastic.
just for the fact that after work I'll go and shake people's hands just to fuck with them. High five, everyone.
Dr. Hawker?
Sorry to take you back to the first question.
Yeah, that's
it was
terrorism.
time. I
So
needed
you
time
had-
to recover over this whole Cyberman thing.
And what's going to happen next? Next week, you're going to be saying we had a Dalek attack or something.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
after that, it'll be the Weeping Angels. So
Yes. So why bring, what could be said to be childish questions to the naked ones?
Cyber
No,
attacks
it's
are
weird because, like, you don't, at least I didn't think, like, why is somebody going to pick on Wyandotte County of all the places in Kansas to pick? Like,
It was probably hitting every county, and it's just somebody there clicked on something they shouldn't have. You get warnings about it all the time.
yeah.
Isn't Wyandotte now part of that redistricting map too? Like how they redistrict you?
I don't think so. I
No?
think it's just,
Johnson. It was somebody up there.
Oh,
Yes.
you're talking about a seat of government rather than the whole area.
Yes.
I see.
yes,
It
yes.
wasn't in
Okay.
the streets.
No. There were not Cybermen in the streets. Like,
we're talking about cybercrime, Jeremy. We're talking about your browsing history becoming available for the rest of the world. And that's
Did they see Doctor Who?
I don't know, but that's called ransomware, and it's a big problem. Ransomware, actually, I've read somewhere that it costs like trillions of dollars a year. Trillions,
Yeah.
not billions, trillions. And it's a massive problem for for big corporations, for private citizens, for everybody. And it's becoming, there's apparently ransomware groups, ransomware circles. It's organized. There's ransomware companies that manufacture ransomware and sell it. It's become a business.
Evidently, one of the worst industries to get hit by that is hospitals because
Yes. Medical
they
records.
do pay out because there's people there who are going to die otherwise.
Yes.
God damn it! Why do they get hit? Go on,
For
answer
money.
The question: why do they get hit?
Because they're more likely to get money.
Yeah, it's
The
everything's-
How do they get hit?
By tricking somebody in the organization.
So the ransomware
Because
arrests.
they're linked to the freaking interweb thing.
Sure.
And if they had standalone systems, right?
Sure.
And they actually used
Typewriters.
typewriters and books,
The IRS.
and
Ink pens.
they wouldn't get hit. So they've only got themselves to blame. Some 14-year-old friend of, Andrei's sitting down the road in the school takes, do you never wonder why some friend of Andrei's suddenly turns up to school the next day in a Ferrari? Don't you ever ask those?
No,
sort of
I haven't.
questions?
I really should have been thinking more along the lines of why don't we blame the victims of crime more?
Yes. For goodness sake.
Abacus.
Did anybody see Doctor Who or not? You did, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can anybody hear music?
No. That's a very interesting topic because it's become a massive. People say this is biggest transfer of wealth is occurring right now because of cybercrime, constantly. constantly, and it's kind of hard to keep up with the advancement in software, in ransomware. So what they do often is they arrest your records and they require money to release them. So you're paralyzed as a business, medical records. These are all very sensitive stuff. And they say it will basically self-destruct. It will, all of your hardware, like all of your records, will self-destruct in 48 hours if you don't pay up. And yeah,
Does it
Don't
actually
forget,
happen?
many people that pay, they get nothing back too.
They get nothing
That is
back.
the trick. There is a lot of fake, there's a threat. Yeah, we'll get our things back. Most of them doesn't.
yeah. So, I mean, it's a massive problem, and I don't know what the solution is. There's some companies. There's a company called fraud.net.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
Jeremy already told you the solution. Don't use the internet.
Yeah, just write everything with an ink pen, and typewriter, and go back.
Preferably a fountain pen.
Yes, of course.
No. What I suppose taking that rather stupid statement I made just now, but taking it to the nth degree, why can a hospital, for example, not run standalone, but it could buy in, you might say, encrypted information that it needs. Okay, but it's not available externally to an external party.
I see. They have their own server. They store everything on their own machine.
And everything's done on whatever the modern version of a CD is.
Yeah.
So when you need to get a machine working, like a donut or something, it comes with its own what am I trying to say?
And Andrei is so confused. Andrei, CD is this disc.
It's like a record player.
It's a disc that stores information on it.
Short answer, Jeremy, there is enough information that is being processed that it's not just like the computer dies and you can then just back up to the beginning of the work week. Like generally, like I worked in a hospital, a neurotrauma hospital, and we had ransomware insurance. And this is back in the 2010s, 2011. We had ransomware insurance all the way back then because we knew that the hospital generated enough data that if that data were to somehow become corrupted or held hostage, like it would cripple the hospital, and there was no functional way the hospital, I shouldn't say no functional way, if the hospital wanted to be profitable at all, the hospital could not afford to back up the data with the frequency that was required that the hospital could continue to run. And that's not considering that the hospital didn't have its own servers. We had our own servers, we had our own equipment, but we did have to travel through the nets and through the webs. But it doesn't matter if somebody brings in a corrupted or an infected piece of equipment or a USB drive and plugs it into our internal network. It's still compromised and potentially service disrupting for the entire entity.
I have one question that's
Sure.
a little different here. To solve, once this has happened, people are rarely caught. Is cryptocurrency making that easier to get away with?
So every news report I've read says yes, but the details on why are always lacking. Like the interesting thing about Bitcoin, for example, it's a completely open ledger. Like every transaction is recorded in the ledger and visible for people to figure out. The difference is Bitcoin doesn't have any of the identification requirements that like a bank account does. So whenever you open a bank account, the bank account has like governmental regulations that insist that they figure out who you are so that in case there's a problem, it can be tracked back to you. Bitcoin doesn't have that, but that seems to be this isn't the easiest thing in the world for us to do, so we're not going to do it kind of rationale as to why cryptocurrency is making it harder. On the other hand, I'm not a cop. I don't know how difficult it is, and maybe it is impossible. It just doesn't seem that way to me.
Jane.
I left the table for a little bit. Have we talked about like
So we're talking about
shutting,
Cybermen,
yeah, but
Doctor
like
Who,
shutting
or
down
like-
Doctor Who, shutting down like power
So
plants
confused.
and nuclear power plants and stuff like that.
Cold mines.
Yeah, I think that that aspect scares me, and of course I don't want my assets frozen and stuff like that. I don't know. The one thing that terrifies me though is no water. Like actually targeting places that can shut our lives down for real.
That's we didn't talk about that. That's cyber terrorism.
Where I used to live in England, 25 years ago, they have water treatment plants just like they do here.
Yeah.
Only this particular water treatment plant, the reservoirs were in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so every month or two, a tanker would turn up and would put chemicals in, diluted chemicals into the treatment system. Okay. So one day, tanker turns up. The guy wasn't paying real attention, and he put the wrong stuff in the water. And a small town, I can't remember, maybe 6,000 people, they all got poisoned with the water. Everybody.
I don't believe this because
No, you look it up. It's happened.
nobody that drinks tea every day can get poisoned.
We just mentioning tea, by the way, the Brits, as you know, are supplying all sorts of things to the good Ukrainians. Tea, obviously, is one of the primary reasons the Ukrainians
Haven't
are
those
doing.
people suffered enough?
Yeah, they're doing very well. But one of the problems in the Donbass is that they're not able, in fact, to boil the water to make the tea, which is
No tea.
And so that's why Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, actually visited Zelensky in Kyiv.
Oh, they want anti-missile defense and Boris Johnson offered tea? Is that what happened? That fucker?
Hang on a minute, mate. We beat the Germans. It wasn't the bleeding Americans, And how did we do it?
Andrei, do you ever
Changing
think about
subject
this whole cyber terrorism thing? Is it at all on your radar?
I don't know. It's cyber, whatever. I have no clue.
Somebody Jeremy on this one.
Yeah, somebody breaks into your school computer and changes all your grades to Fs. Are you pissed?
No, because if it happens to everyone, then everyone.
I mean,
the teachers-
you're assuming that anything changed.
Yeah. That's like they bumped them up.
No, but they get into people's phones. They steal, like Jennifer Lawrence.
So what if they break into your phone
Naked pictures got stroked
and get into your OnlyFans account and show your parents?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like my dad might want to see Danny DeVito. I don't know. It's whatever.
So let's try a new one. Okay, Fernando, no, I haven't really forgotten. And you're an expert on this subject.
Well, I work with IT, and I mean, it's a inevitable big problem that's happening more and more. And I mean, certain businesses are getting hit more than ever. Doesn't matter your size, and people figure out that doesn't mean you don't have a defense. Like we have like a microcosmos and like a different layers of networks, extra protections, but depends how and what they infiltrate. It might be too late. Like there was a big payroll company, Kronos. We got affected because we had this. They pretty much jacked the services of Kronos like at the end of the year. So you remember, every company they need to print the W-2s for everybody. That was freaking huge. Us, like, I mean, we're talking, my company has like probably 8,000 employees. We were like small fish. So Kronos even recovering and putting customers back in place. They didn't slow. Like, I think it took 2 months for, make our life easier. Imagine like companies that were smaller than us having service with them. and
Yeah.
maybe the big fish got the service restored faster, but it was pretty hell. And how that happened, like the thing is so sophisticated that they find ways to do some damage very behind the scenes, like doesn't matter, like nobody gonna have infinite amount of backups, so that's kind of the trigger to they try to affect and keep like a stealth, doing some damage without people see. It's a multi-million industry too, like it's like the new pirates, and it's cybercrime.
And it's also the business of the future is cybercrime prevention, because, like, for example, our data of the company that I work with now is stored in this mind-blowing facility in Overland Park. I went in...
The cave?
It's not in the cave. Yeah, but the caves... But the caves are doing the same thing in, the Hunt caves. But I went to this facility, biometric data, it was to get in was incredible. And it's a bank. It's a bank that stores data. Data is the most valuable thing now. And it's incredible, the levels of protection to get in, the levels of software protection, the servers there. It's absolutely incredible. And that's becoming a massive business. The caves that you mentioned, I've been there as well. So Kansas City is built on top of a giant cave system. There's limestone caves, miles and miles, hundreds of miles underneath.
Batman.
Yeah, and seriously, Batman level. So every February, actually, I run there because there's a big half marathon that takes place in this cave system, and it's freaking mind-blowing. It's like a city. It's a massive metropolis. In fact, its official name is Subtropolis. And I went there for a half a marathon once, and the manager of the entire place spoke to me and said, "We love it here. It's always overcast and 50 degrees.
Question.
Humidity is perfect.
Are there mosquitoes?
No mosquitoes, nothing. Humidity is perfect. Very little resources are spent to store materials and data. So a lot of the cloud is moving in these kind of places where it's always safe. It's not humid. The temperature is perfect. And you see companies, it's very fancy. You see neon lights, stores,
it just does not make sense to store cloud underground.
I know.
That's not right.
Yes, but it is so cool. It's absurd, but it's cool.
Do they have to hold it down? I mean,
They hold the cloud down.
Yeah.
It's the Cybermen holding him down.
It's
right?
always overcast. There's always clouds.
The Dalek. It's the Dalek bringing the.
yeah. Well, I don't know. If you say so. Okay, so this is a quick fire round. Next question. Quick fire round. Short answers, please. Short answers. Including Alena, who has just joined us. And so she can't get out of it. So we'll start with Fernando. Tomorrow, Fernando, you realize you've suddenly become rich. Inheritance, lottery, whatever. What is the very first thing you do?
I will buy lottery tickets.
Buy lottery tickets. Okay, look.
Wow.
Lose it all again.
Andrei, you become seriously wealthy.
Buy an airplane. Buy like obscure vehicles. If I could get my hands on a tank, that'd be awesome.
A tank.
Go to school with a tank. Can you imagine parking at Free State?
No, not at Free State.
He's at
That would be
LHS.
so cool.
No, but that's what he means. He'd park it at Free State.
Yeah.
Just for a laugh. Ha ha ha. Fun, Lewis.
The very first thing I would do after confirming that it is in fact true is go and talk to a financial analyst. Probably do that and like a trust advisor before I even told the wife.
Oh, God, how boring. What else would you do?
Actually,
Next,
you
what's step
never
2?
tell the wife.
What's step 2?
That would be part B. No, like the very first fun thing that I would do, go buy, I don't know, it would probably be, it would be like the fastest Tesla that's available, without question.
Okay. Let's come around to Greg. What would you do?
I mean, honestly, it's a great question. I'm not entirely certain. I think I might go back to the old job that I used to have.
Which was?
Working at Kansas Legal Services. So it was a job that was, I mean, it did not pay very well. It's a nonprofit organization, but definitely I thought very meaningful work. In terms of like fun purchases, I'd probably just, I mean, I'm at the stage of my life where I don't even own like a house. I don't have a very nice car. I'd probably just do some basic stuff like that. I know. It is really depressing.
Jane.
I would buy properties all over the world so I could just get out whenever I wanted to. That's just the first thing I would do. At least 5 different properties all over the world.
Eva, what would you do?
I'll pay all my credit cards, and with the remaining $25, I'll go to the movies. No, you know, I have a friend who's completely paralyzed. Really incredible human being. He's 33. He has lived 17 years without being able to move. He can move only the index finger of his left hand. And this guy, though, is incredible. He writes to me sends me messages, and, you know, he has a dream to travel to the United States, but it's very expensive. You know, the accommodations are very expensive. He can't breathe on his own. He's on a respirator. He's got a Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is the really rough one. And it's, I told him personally, if I have enough money, I'll transport him, get an airplane, special airplane, transport him, rent a vehicle that can accommodate him, and travel all over the United States. He wants to see the Grand Canyon. He wants to see the United States. He dreams of the United States, of the West, specifically in the Pacific Ocean. And to him, he travels on the internet. That's his life. You know, he watches things on the internet. He communicates with thousands of people. And that's a dream of his that if I had enough money, I would immediately, the first thing I would do is probably accommodate his dream. And then I have another friend who's paralyzed in Switzerland that also wants to do that trip, and I'll do that for him too. And like Louis said, if I had hit the lottery, I would probably hire a consultant, a marketing specialist as well, and put the money in a trust. If it's a lottery, did you know they're obligated to reveal your name?
They are not.
No,
they are.
Not in all states.
Not in all states.
No.
In many cases, they are obligated to reveal your name. But if you put your money in a trust, you can build a barrier between your name and the lottery ticket, and that's something that everybody should do if they suddenly win money like that.
Okay, Alena, you're here, so you got to answer the question. Tomorrow, you realise you suddenly become very rich. It's not going to be an inheritance, I can tell you that now. Lottery. Doing the lottery you don't do.
I would probably set aside, calculate somehow, however much money I need to live semi-comfortably for the rest of my life, and however much the people I love would need, and set that aside. And then whatever's excess, I would try to find a way to donate, but I would have to talk to somebody well-educated enough to know where the correct places are to donate, what is the most helpful organization to donate to, and to make sure.
I know some good places.
So
Just talk to me.
And
Fernando, when she said donate, she did not mean hookers and blow.
and make sure the funds go like where I want them to go.
All right. Okay.
Your own foundation, Alena Foundation.
Yeah, I just do what Bill and Melinda Gates did. Yeah.
Kathleen.
I am not so altruistic. I would sit down suddenly once I'd found this out, and then I would get hold of Jeremy and figure out some way to keep the rest of my family from finding out about it.
And do you know that's one of the advice that people who win very large amounts on the lottery advise, don't tell anybody.
Dude, I actually looked at a lot, where are they now for lottery winners, and 70% of the stories are not broke, dead, killed by a family member.
Yeah, I was say Lewis just out of the blue brought this up to me a month ago. It was very odd.
It's just disturbing. It's disturbing as all get out. That you get a little money and people that are closest to you lose their damn minds.
Yeah. In fact, most of the people that I know that died suddenly probably won a lottery ticket.
For myself, I think it's quite easy, and I'm disappointed. In fact, with all of you, I am disappointed.
Why is that?
I'm disappointed because if I won the lottery that I'm not allowed to do, I'd ask to get on the list of people who sponsor Wednesday Night Undressed. Like try and get hold of Susan in her bunker and pay her more money than she's currently paid. I'd probably go as far as $10 an hour. And then the other thing I'd like to do, I look at the town that I live in and I look at some of the organizations, and there's some really cool organizations here, but they're run by the good and the great. There's always someone who's sort of gets in the way, of the organization moving forward. I would use my billions to remove that person. I don't mean Putin style, but just...
It wasn't clear.
I would just say to the organization, look, you need $2 million to pay off your loans. If you get rid of so-and-so, here's a check. I'd enjoy...
Wouldn't last very long.
I know, but I'd enjoy doing that. And driving my Aston Martin. So we've gone round everybody. So let's go on something that's just happened. What are your feelings, team, on the mask mandate dropping out for public transportation and airlines? Let's look at someone who's looking. Don't you look at me like that, Greg? Or Gregory, as your mother probably calls you when she's cross with you.
She does not.
So, you know. So, Greg, what do you think? What are
Sure.
your feelings on it?
I haven't read anything about the opinion that came out. I think it was.
You're
it
a
was
lawyer,
federal...
right? You know everything.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
What an admission.
Yeah, I don't. Frankly, I don't have very strong feelings on it, which I feel like is a little odd. But I know it's a topic that affects a lot of people. I mean, if you look at the COVID rates, I guess they're significantly down. But we'll see how long that lasts if we're going to be changing things like that on massive public transit. I think it's interesting. I'm not going to venture to analyze the constitutionality of the mandate or the getting rid of it. But
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of judges that are willing to do that.
Yeah.
So there's no point messing.
yeah, I have heard that the judge who actually made that decision was, if I'm the only one of the
Vastly
only things that
unqualified. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
someone who's 6 years older than me, appointed by
You'd be
Trump.
qualified.
And
You will be far more.
oh, and I think the bar, but the bar association told that judge is totally
Deemed
qualified
unqualified,
to
yeah.
be
Nice.
a judge. That
Excellent.
there is already a statement that when the judge
But he's a judge. What are you gonna do?
Perfect. Yeah.
But practically thinking, do you think that when you're in an airplane for 4 hours, that the masks actually protect you from that recycled air?
No, and they have some of the best recycled air anyway. So this is something else that I
They have
had
the
read
best
about.
air.
They've got the best air.
It's a free air over there.
No,
Like
seriously,
literally,
do you
they
think
do have the
cleanest.
best air.
filtration system?
Yeah.
Filtration system.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the question
Does
is,
it work? Does the mask work when you're in an airplane?
I was trying to talk into my Pepsi there. They can't possibly have the cleanest air. Every time I get on a damn plane, I come off with colds.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So it
that's
doesn't work.
surfaces though.
I don't care what it is. It's germs. So being on an airplane is nasty business, and masks help.
I miss when we could smoke on the airplane.
I know, right? The good old days. The good old
I
days.
don't really care either way, honestly. If you tell me to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. If you say I don't have to, okay, I won't.
Exactly.
So is that opinion because you are confident in the vaccine? Or you there was a time where we were not leaving our house. And now we're talking about because I'm in the same boat. I don't care. I'll wear a mask if I need to wear a mask. If I don't need to wear a mask, I'm completely okay with not wearing a mask. And I'm asking you this question, but it's more directed internally. Is it because we are confident that the vaccine is working and that we are at a reduced risk, or are we just burned out of being careful?
Personally,
Uh-huh.
it is my personality. I don't have ridiculous, overly blown anxieties, and I don't have any health issues. Not really. I am fully vaccinated with booster and etc. So no, it really is. I have this. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, or maybe it's a little bit of both, but I've always just kind of been an instant gratification person, and I don't really recognize consequences until they're sitting right in front of my face. So it's a
You're Gen X.
yeah. It's a sad admission, I suppose, but and probably a very imprudent one, honestly, when it comes to most things. But well, I know it is, but. Because it's not like I've never had consequences before.
Right.
And I have had COVID, and you can still hear it. I'm still nasally. I haven't been sick for like 2 months, and I still can't quite get rid of it. I feel sorry for people who are immunocompromised, for sure. I don't really know what the answer is.
And you have to travel.
Personally, I just don't care
Don't care
anymore.
Evo, what about you? Because you got to travel.
I love the masks because the ladies have been telling me I look much better with a mask on.
Well, I mean,
Stop it. You mean yourself.
But no. I don't know
It's
if
just the curly hair.
Yeah.
Coming out in front of the.
I don't know if the masks. I don't feel like they necessarily protect us in an airplane, in a tube, closed tube with constantly recycled air for hours and hours at a time. I don't feel that it's probably not necessary. You can't escape the microscopic germs floating through that tube. At the same
feels like
time,
a sci-fi horror film.
yeah.
almost.
At the same time, I don't like. We went on a train with Neo here recently, and the train is pretty much, if not worse than an airplane. And
As far as cramped?
kind of had masks. We were expected to wear them, but most people weren't. They didn't care. There was no like policing. There was a guy that walked by us a couple of times and kind of looked at us, said, "Hey, you might want to put your mask on." But at the same time, nobody checked for firearms. You know what I mean? Yeah, interesting dichotomies in this society. I don't know where we are. It's just entropy constantly in this world.
Right.
It's chaos, and we live in it, and we just have to survive it somehow. And that's where we are.
Gotcha. Alena, you got any thoughts on this thing? Are you traveling anytime soon?
I don't know. Hopefully, I'll get get it together and get my passport and go to Bulgaria. Hopefully, but I don't know if I have any feelings one way or another because I'm not an immunologist, so I'm not totally sure what best practice is.
Okay, Katanji.
But if a place if airlines require it, I'll wear it. If anything, like anywhere requires it, I'll wear it. On a personal level, I'm probably burnt out on it, but it might be a selfish thing. If an immunologist says that it's absolutely necessary, I'll feel bad for being so selfish.
Right.
Socially, it can be uncomfortable. Like before we took our masks off in classrooms, it's uncomfortable to be in a classroom with people for 40 weeks and not know what their face looks like.
Right.
And then the whole time not be sure how they feel about you because you're just hearing their tone of voice. And sometimes, like, when you just hear somebody's tone of voice and you can't see their face, you're like, maybe this person is aggressive or not aggressive. Like, you can't tell what's going on.
Right.
And so I think on a social level, it was difficult to maintain, like, relationships throughout. So that's all.
Understood.
Yeah.
Kath?
Well, I think we're dropping it too soon. We've lost 1 million people in this country already, and people seem to be so numb to that. They don't realize the horror of it. And we're going to lose a hell of a lot more. We got to get serious about it.
Yeah, and don't the masks actually protect other people, not necessarily
so that was
you?
Why I personally, that was like the big impetus for me to wear masks. It still primarily is the reason that I wear masks, not for any concern for myself, but it's like a external compassion thing, not a badge, but it's like, if I am infected, I don't want to be infecting other people.
Isn't it kind of sad and depressing that with COVID, the last people alive will be Bane and Darth Vader because
Right.
they're wearing like high filtration masks? All the villains will survive.
So my brother actually, he works for Microsoft, and his way of maliciously complying with them forcing him to come back to the office, he got an N100 mask, which is basically like a gas mask. It's got like the two
It's
things
tough.
on the front,
Nice.
and he wears it all the time whenever he's forced to be in the office. He cannot have normal conversations with his coworkers because he has this mask on.
Yeah. He'll be incredible. He'll have incredible lungs, though. I mean, he'll be like an Olympic track and field athlete when this pandemic's done, because breathing is not easy for those.
Right. Andrei, before you bite, what do you think?
For me, like, I don't really care, but like, if, like, I don't know, if I'm protecting someone else, then I might wear. But like, if I'm not supposed to wear a mask, I won't wear a mask. Public transportation wise, I don't really care because I never used the bus pass that my dad got me. I refuse.
Don't get on the bus.
And airplane wise, it was really annoying wearing a mask flying to Japan.
Oh my God, that's a long flight.
So like, yeah, I had to sleep in a mask, hurt my ears, but I don't know.
You know, the only time I liked wearing a mask is when I had a sore throat.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
sometimes,
you're like breathing in humidity,
hot air,
basically.
yeah.
or it was a lot easier for me. Like I didn't shave my little weird half-grown high school mustache when I had a mask.
I was wondering what was at the end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
It could have gone anywhere. It could have been legs. It could have been just, yeah.
yeah, just let it grow, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I took my mask off, I was like, oh, that's weird. It looks like Patrick Mahomes' mustache. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
It's like a peach.
Yeah.
It's like peach has more mustache. But you know, I flew to freaking Bulgaria last year, and on the Lufthansa flight, which was from Chicago to Munich to Germany, that was a 7-hour flight. And I had to wear a mask, and the mask, I would fall asleep, and in my sleep, it would slip off of my face. I was asleep. And this freaking maniac flight attendant guy, Obersturmbannführer Hans, would come and say, "Alles kommen Sie, wir haben diese Mask! Masken sind kommen, geben Sie mir keine Masken!" And I'm like, oh, holy shit. I was asleep. I was jumping. I said, "Kommen Sie, wir haben Masken, kommen! Masken!" And I'm like, good God, what is wrong with you, man? And he threatened me that when we arrive in Munich, I'm going to be met by authorities if one more time my mask slips off my face. And I'm like, dude, you can't even spell Germany without German. Calm the fuck down. But it was not pleasant. You're right, Andrei. It was not pleasant flying for hours and hours and hours with a mask on. And then people, their food would come or drink, and they take off their masks and they eat and chew and drink. And come on.
Yeah, I mean,
Lass mal was du machst, hier mal Führer, wenn lieber spielen mit 2 Orangutanen.
Glorious Bastard than the movie Airplane.
Yeah.
Fernando, what do you think? Is this a good or bad?
I think it's, the time is over to enforce. It's still, use your goodwill. If you want to use it. But I mean, I'm sick of people that look mad for who using masks and people that look mad for who doesn't use a mask. If it's already, the vaccine is there, it's holding well, unless, there is a new variation that you're gonna, shake the shit much harder. But I mean, the protection is here. I avoid, I don't like to still be in large crowds, like concerts and stuff, but I mean, the protection is there. It's not like I start seeing this like a flu. I know, it was fatal when if you're not vaccinated. So if I let's say if I go overseas and I'm gonna meet like people overseas, I'm gonna probably be masked and quarantine myself and carry a test with me. But besides that, it's gotta move on.
What about you, Lord Taylor?
My view is N95s all the time. That's that. And one's wearing a mask to protect other people. And it's not my fault if, the stupid people out there. As the cable guy says, you can't fix stupid. Let's move on to a last question again, quick fire. We'll go the other way around. Best comfort food, chicken noodle soup or ice cream, Kathleen?
Dumb question. Ice cream. Duh.
Alena, ice cream or chicken noodle soup?
I have to say ice cream.
Ice cream. We got 2 ice cream. Hang on, I'm making a list here. Ice cream, 2.
What do you think
Evo?
the vegetarian's gonna say?
Ice and creamin'.
Ice and creamin'. Ice and creamin'. Jane.
Chicken noodle soup, as long as it's not Campbell's. If it's homemade, chicken noodle soup, hands down.
Greg.
Chicken noodle soup.
Chicken
My grandma had a great recipe.
Chicken noodle soup and I'll get there in a minute, Lewis.
Chicken noodle soup.
Sure. Final answer.
100%.
Okay. 3.
Ice cream specifically, like eat it out of the container.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fernando.
Ice cream.
Ice
Bunch
cream.
of
Ice cream
fucking
gets
heathens.
it.
Jeremy.
So, well, I was going to say chicken noodle soup.
Still.
We're still on it.
Do you want a war story?
No, we don't need it.
Okay.
Is Churchill involved?
No.
No Churchill. We need the war story.
I was at boarding school, and the lady who ran the house mistress, she had been in that town during the war, and they pulled that was in Dover, and they pulled pilots out of the water, German and Brits, and they used to give them chicken and sweet corn and celery soup. What we know now as chicken, there weren't any noodles, but chicken and sweet corn soup is what they used to feed the kids. 18 they were, come out the channel, been in the channel for a few hours, that's what they used to feed them, get them back going again. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have been listening to another Wednesday night Undressed. We didn't have sponsors this week. This is largely because my colleagues and I refuse point blank to pay Susan a decent wage. We're not going to do it, damn her. But she'll come crawling back. You wait and see. Next week, she'll be back. And I want to say thanks for listening. Remember that you can get all the podcasts on Facebook and on the Kofifi channels. Yes. 20s and 21s, and usually this podcast you'll be able to hear again in a few days, as I always do on Facebook. I want to thank Kath, Fernando, Lewis, Jeremy, Andrei, Ivo, Alena, Jane, and Greg for turning up tonight. You've been listening to another Undressed podcast, and I want to thank Neil.
On the knobs.
Neil wasn't doing any. He was playing with his knobs.
Knobbly.
Yeah, Knobbly Neil.
Auf Wiedersehen!